why all of a sudden Deshaun Watson could get traded, might get traded. Here's what they would trade for him. Now it's on the front burner.
Because
What's happening?
the cut down to 53 is on Tuesday. And so the question now becomes, are the Texans willing to pay him $10.45 million for the year, because that's what it would cost to carry him on the roster for the year? And B, are they willing to go with, in essence, 52 players if they're not going to play him? Because if you're not going to play him, that means somebody else is losing their job over this. And I just would tell you, and like, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen over the next 48 hours. I do agree that this creates a pressure point for the Texans to some degree. I just, my sense throughout has been that Nick Caserio is not taking 50 cents on the dollar for Deshaun Watson. And I agree with him on this. 25-year-old franchise quarterback who's got 5 years left on his contract. There is no more priceless commodity in football than that. And because you can't get full value for him right now, what's the harm in waiting? If you have him under contract for the next 5 years, what's the harm in waiting if you feel like maybe 3 months from now, 6 months from now, you might be able to get 3 or 4 first-round picks? Is it better to wait and ride it out because you've already ridden it out with a new head coach for 6 weeks in training camp? Or are you better off taking a lot less now and continuing your rebuild without Watson and without the haul you might have been able to get? Unless somebody's going to come in and offer something, the sort of thing that the Texans would have been able to get in January and February and March before the 22 lawsuits were filed, I just think Nick Caserio, as the new general manager of the Texans, has resolved not to move it. Maybe you've got something for me, but unless somebody's going to give him the value that you would normally get for a quarterback of Deshaun Watson's stature, absent everything else that's going on, which is way more serious than football, what would create the rush to get something done right now?
Yeah, and from what I'm told, though, one team wants contingency plans for those draft picks, and it's like, hey, you know what? We'll give the first-round picks, but if he doesn't play or he gets indicted or whatever it might be, then those number ones become maybe number twos. That some kind of language in there.
So consider this, though, Dan. So let's say there's the language in there, and I don't think the Texans. I think the Texans are leery about putting conditions on this. So let's say one of the conditions is he has to play 8 games this year. Okay. So let's say there's an 8-game suspension, and which I think is reasonable. If you look at what Roethlisberger got in 2010, it was 6 games that got knocked down to 4. So let's say he gets an 8-game suspension, and then, he gets hurt. So now he doesn't hit that 8 games, right? And that takes away a first-round pick. Would you want to put yourself in that situation when maybe it doesn't even relate directly to innocence or guilt here? It's just sort of the way the league sees the situation. Or would you rather wait for clarity so you could get 3 first-round picks, without any conditions on them? The Texans, I mean, if you gave Nick Caserio and David Culley truth serum, they know they're not winning the Super Bowl this year. So is it really that important that they have the picks right now rather than in March? And by the way, they can't execute any of those picks until April anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're the Texans here, absent everything else, I just think you have to look at this and say to yourself, if we're going to walk away from Deshaun Watson, which again, they didn't want to do in January and February and March before the temperature turned up on everything. If you're going to walk away from that, you have to get full value. And if you don't get full value as a first-year GM and a first-year coach, for the rest of the time in Houston, you're going to be chasing that back, right? That's going to be the hill you're going to have to get over. And so I think, the Texans, you can blame them for a lot of stuff that they've done in the last year. That place has been a mess. But I think the Texans are taking the right approach here in waiting to find a way to get full value, and maybe somebody moves over the next couple of days and gives it to them. But I don't think Nick Caserio is going to be pressured into doing something short-sighted based on, a deadline coming up in the next, I guess, 36 hours now.